Ultimately, when we're leading people, this is the essence of what it takes to be successful in an organization. I had this great interaction the other day with like a bunch of young leaders that were in a session where we were doing some training and some coaching, and the conversation was coming up around how do I get people to go above and beyond? How do I get these top performer? How do I get somebody to achieve the goals that they've set for themselves? And I think that a lot of times our job is not to get somebody to achieve. It's to ask them the question, like, we either need to increase the activity or decrease the expectations, and find that place in the middle. And it was so much fun for me to be in that conversation of that organic coaching place, because I think that this is ultimately, when we're leading people, this is the essence of what it takes to be successful in an organization. Like, how do you get that person who is leaving at 3 o'clock and showing up at 10 o'clock, right, and tells you, I need to make six figures, I want to do this, I want to achieve this, I'm going to win every award, I'm going to get recognized, I want to be a superstar, I want to be a winner, and yet they're cutting out like every single day, right? And I think it's that courageous conversation. You got to sit down with them, and you've got to take them through that dialogue of what their priorities are. Some people's priority is to be at their kid's soccer match every day, and some people's priority is to make $1 million. You've got to coach the person who wants to make $1 million differently than the person who wants to be there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when their kid gets off the school bus. Totally different things, right? You don't coach somebody who's going to be an Olympic marathoner the same way you would coach someone who's going to run a 5K. You've got to find what that person's goals, what their objectives are, and ultimately coach to that. And again, a lot of times when they fall short of those objectives, it's just as much as bringing them back to the reality that things aren't going to change unless they change their behavior, right? They either need to increase their activity or decrease their expectations. And that's where your job starts and ends if you're in a leadership role, right? A lot of times people misconstrue leadership and management. Management is about getting tasks done, right? Management is about direction, and it's about performance, coaching, right? Or performance management, as opposed to empowerment and teaching and coaching. And I think that if you spend your energy, trying to find ways to empower people, trying to find people how to move them up, just a little bit more, get a little bit more out of them so they can see a little bit more results, you'll start to see their enthusiasm shift and change. And ultimately that's our job. Like, we can't want something more for somebody than they want it for themselves. I think we often do, right? We believe in people more than they believe in themselves. But ultimately, your job is to have that conversation with them. And, I always used to call it the defibrillator, right? You put the paddles on their chest and shock them back into reality. And, if you do that with consistency, you're going to find the right players. The truth of the matter is the people that you dream of, that unicorn, that superstar, who is exceeding expectations and doesn't need to be pulled along and require that candid conversation. The fact of the matter is, you're probably going to be working for them someday, right? They're not going to be under your coaching all that long, and that's an amazing thing, right? Turnover is not evil. If you make turnover your goal, if you make turnover your priority, in other words, you want people to launch out of your organization to that next place, that's the way to build a culture and an organization that's gonna perpetuate success over and over and over again. Far too many want to hold people back, right? They want to hold them down, or they don't want to give them enough of the tools and resources to get to that next level. This idea that turnover is evil needs to be turned on its head. It's not. It should be your goal. It should be the mission. It should be what you think about every single day when you wake up and when you go to sleep. How do I get people to move on? How can I give them enough tools and enough resources to reach the goals and objectives that they set for themselves, right? And if they're not meeting those goals, if they're not meeting those resources, how do I have the courageous conversation with them in that moment that's going to defibrillate, right? Have that paddle hit that heart, reignite them so that they can achieve the things that they set out to do. Most people need a personal trainer, right, to lose that extra 20 pounds. Most people need somebody to help them with their diet, A lot of people aren't self-motivated. And and that's the role of the coach, right? That's the role of an organization. Ultimately, in my opinion, is you've got to have an ecosystem and an infrastructure that helps people achieve the things that they set out to achieve. And if you do that, that's going to be where your success really is going to be, is going to help you differentiate in the marketplace when it comes to attracting talent. And as I've said a million times in the past, the organization with the best talent wins. They win all the time.